And I'm going to ask Jim Goddard, one of our recommended trainers, to come in now. And you know that Monty talks about that we haven't worked with horses before. This is a horse, though, that we do know already. I know this because this is my sister's horse, Jack. And she bought him, and he's bred to show jump, but she actually bought him to be a working hunter for my niece. And as I say, we get quite personal at this stage. My niece had a very difficult pregnancy, and she's actually in intensive care when she had her gorgeous son for a couple of days. So she's not going to be ready to ride for a while. She mustn't twist herself at all. So we need this horse to be very gentle, and we're talking about in 6 months' time. He's quite big, it has to be said. So we need to work on this a lot. Another thing that it's worth saying here is sometimes people talk about bringing their horse to a demonstration and then they go, oh, but it might be stressful for him. Well, apart from studies that we've done that show that it's no more stressful than normal work for a horse to come here, I relish, and so does my family, any chance that we can get a horse into this environment is so good for them. And I remember my horse Pi coming here 15 years ago as a nervous little pony, but we actually took him to 7 demonstrations in a row, and it just changed him so much. And we're hoping to do that with Jack as well. I did sit on him this afternoon, and it felt like I was on an unexploded bomb. And so I got off, we'd long lined him a little bit, and then I got back on again and got him settled. But a lot of this is I want to introduce you to Jim Goddard, who's in West Sussex. Jim, whereabouts are you? East Sussex?
East Sussex, yeah.
Whereabouts?
Heathfield.
Heathfield. Hickstead. We know Hickstead. Is that fair enough? Quite near Hickstead?
No, Hickstead is West Sussex.
Oh. Heathfield, anyway. Someplace in East Sussex. Jim's just going to do a join-up with Jack now. But something that Jim does in Heathfield is, although Jim's primarily a Western rider, he does clinics that are very useful for people that event, show jump, or just want more confidence on their horse. So Jim, if you start, but I'll just chat as well as a moment.
That works.
One of the things that we find, one of the biggest issues with riders today is confidence. And I've written a book called Perfect Confidence. But the first thing I say to you, if you want to be confident, does anyone know what the first thing I say if you want to be confident is? Be brave. Speak out, you know. Sorry? Remember to breathe is very good. If you are going to be confident riding, you want to have a safe horse. Don't be confident if you've got a horse that's going to throw you off. Be unconfident. Is that the right word? Yeah. You've got to have a horse that's nice and safe. That doesn't mean that accidents can't happen, but you've got to get your horse nice and settled. And I've said to Jim tonight, I'm going to get on this horse in a minute in front of all you guys. He's just a young horse. He's just 5. But I've said to him, just think of me as you would the Queen. Just, if you had the Queen and you were going to put her on a horse, would you go, oh, he's a bit fresh, but he'll be all right? And this is the same for all of you before you get on your horses. Think of yourself as the Queen. Would you say, well, he's been turned out for a couple of weeks, but he's probably fine? Or I feel his back's up, but oh, I'll just give him a kick and it'll be okay. You wouldn't you? And think of it, the Queen is still riding at 90 years old, and that's what we want to be able to do as well. So go through processes to get your horse really nice and safe.
So I think here, Kelly, people can see that he's already spooking at pretty much anything that's new in the arena. And little spooks here, little spooks there, which never seem a great worry until it's a great big horse like him.
That's it. So he's, some of you might remember in the magazine, it was my aim, I rode him at the beginning of the year because it was my aim to ride him at Royal Windsor. I was very, very excited, and it was going very, very well, right up to the morning of the big event when we got up at 4:30 in the morning, and it rained, and it rained, and it rained, and that was it. They abandoned the day. So even the best made plans don't always work out. But and then since then, He's been at a livery yard where I haven't been with him, where perhaps he hasn't had as much turnout as he should have, and perhaps he was fed a little bit too much. If you've got a horse that's a bit fresh and spooky, those are the first things to look at. Are they getting enough exercise? Are they getting too much food? He's now with a really good person who will be here tonight, Southerly Roberts, who's a super show jumping rider. Oh, that was nice, Jim. Well done. Lovely. Because my family are all vertically challenged, he looks like a very big horse, but Jim makes him look a bit more normal, thankfully. He's got a very good bloodline. I think William Fox Pitt had a half brother to him that was sold to America in the end. But he's also of a bloodline that could get very spooky and silly if you didn't do everything in the right way. What Jim is going to do now, he is not going to say, okay, Kel, jump on him bareback. I'm going to leave that off for my Jim, I'm just going to give you the saddle. He's just going to long line him, and he's going to talk us through the long lining, which is just a little bit more advanced perhaps than Monty would do with a very first time starter. Thank you.
So one of the things that we're looking at with the spooky horses, or horses that are just a bit anxious about the environment that they're in, is to try and give them a pattern that they feel comfortable with.
I'm going to let you put that on. I can't reach.
And we find that whether we're working with starters or we're working with these older horses that have got a bit of a worry in them about this sort of stuff, that if we can sort of develop a pattern, and we use a figure of 8, that they feel that they don't have to think about, and they can just go straight into that pattern if they're worried about anything, and let them just breathe and soften up a little bit.
There you are, Jim. There's the...
Thank you.
I'll get you another line.
So I'll talk you through it as we're going through.
So, Jim, with a young horse like this, so you're running clinics and you're starting young horses, how long do you think that you should, for how many days, let's say, and I know it's going to be as long as necessary as well, do they need to be long-lined before you get on?
Well, we certainly kind of work on making sure that we've got a week of long lining in them before we go to the first rider. And we also want to start the process of getting them so that they feel that they can understand to come off pressure of the leg, especially. And one of the ways that we do that really, really simply is just by using our hand where the leg would go and asking them to step off. So if I come back here, I give him a little rub at his flank, and then if I just squeeze and he steps away from my hand, then it means that I'm getting some good work in there. He's starting to understand to step away. So that when a young horse, if they get a bit anxious and we get on and we clamp our legs on, suddenly they go, oh, I don't know what that is. And it all becomes a bit of a drama for them. If they're already soft to pressure on their flanks, then it really, really helps them with their levels of anxiety when you're first getting on. So we do a whole load of work working on getting the horse nice and soft to the touch, to moving the hip away when we ask them to move the hip away, moving shoulders away when we ask them to move shoulders, finger on the hand on the girth, hand behind the girth. And that way, when the rider comes to getting on, he's already got something in his toolbox to be able to work with. We'd also want to make sure that the horses are really kind of feeling almost kind of bored. So that the work they're doing, they're going, oh, right, yes, we're going this, and oh, I'll have a nice breathe, and oh, that's okay, nothing's a worry. And that way, when we take them into riding, we do exactly the same patterns as we would when we go on the long lines, and they feel comfortable with that maneuver. So here, we're just going to start this little figure of 8 pattern, and I'll talk you through what I'm looking for. What I want to see is when I pick up this left rein, he softens his head to the left, and I can just imagine if you were riding, you'd just see his nostril. And that way, what he's doing is creating the right bend for the turn. So we're going to turn here, just see his nostril. Good. As soon as I see his nostril, I'm giving that rein back to him. Then I'm going to pick up the other one. Good boy, just there. Give the rein back to him, and we carry on this little circuit around. Now, he's having a good look at all of you guys out there, but he's actually doing really, really well. If we can get him so that he feels really comfortable with when he feels any pressure on that rein, that he just gives to it. Good boy. Then when Kelly gets on, she can ride the same pattern, ask in the same way with the rein, and you can see how his neck starts to soften down a little bit. And when our horses get soft bodies, they get softer in their minds. We've all been on that horse that goes tense, 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 and you can feel him not thinking about anything anymore. He's just gone, oh, I can't think about anything at all, I'm just going to run. If they're nice and soft through their body, they can start using their brains and start thinking about things.
Jim,
Yeah.
this just reminds me, Monty, you were talking about with your deer. I've forgotten the expression you use now. When you repeat something and they get in that pattern with the deer. Oh.
Yeah. Ooh, I'm loud.
Monty's very loud.
Yeah. Imprinting the brain. When you're doing your work right, repetition is your greatest friend. When you're doing your work even slightly wrong, repetition is your greatest enemy, because their brain will habituate to the action that you're using. And horses need repetition. They're samers. They don't like to change their diet, they don't like to change locations, and they don't like to change even day and night. They like it to be the same all the time, if you can get it as close to that as possible. I'd like the audience to know that today this horse was awash with perspiration when he came to a new place.
He arrived dripping in sweat. We did a quick join up in the round pen, but I got on and he was like a bullfrog blown up. And I thought, do you know, it's going to be bad publicity if I'm killed in an afternoon demonstration. No. And I just popped off. We did a little bit of long lining, and as I said, that Jim, although his Western is his first love, like Monty's really, this sort of work is so useful for eventers and show jumpers and so on. And Jim, you were saying a lot of the horses that are coming to you are horses that people get on and they ride, they just jump on and they jump, or they jump on and they do all this stuff, and you get horses that are getting really anxious to go.
Yeah.
And that's a lovely long sigh there.
It's becoming more and more of an issue, really, with people. You know, everyone works really hard. It's the real world that we live in. No one's got the time to just kind of go and hang out with their horse.
Yeah.
So they come, they jump on, they go straight to the show jumps, or straight to the dressage arena, or straight up to the cross country. And the horse starts to think, oh, when I get saddled up, when the guy gets on, right, I've got to be absolutely on my game and go, go, go. And we want them to, then there comes that moment where you don't want that, where you want to just sit on your horse, have a nice time, but they're still in that mindset of, oh no, I've got to go, I've got to go.
Well, and the thing is that Jim's out there with 2 lines and he's doing this, and you can do this too, but it's something you need to learn with your horses. And if you just have a great big field and you walk behind your horse, don't do this, because he's going to wind up bolting away and dragging the lines across the field. You need to be in a relatively good enclosure with relatively good footing and a fence where you can control things. Because I had a horse here today that I loved. He's a beautiful horse. We don't have him in tonight because he's a remedial starter, and I had a true starter for tonight. But that horse has been loose with the lines and run through a fence or something, and he's just, you know, his fuse is lit and somebody's going to get hurt. But if you get it right in here, you can watch the adrenaline fall. Jim's getting it so right, and I love to see him moving his horse off the pressure on the side. I'm going to talk to you a little about that later. And when your legs do clamp the horse, you're apt to go for a ride if it's a brand new thing to them. So we're going to talk a little about that. Go ahead.
A lady came to me once and she said, I read somewhere that if your horse spooks, you mustn't grip suddenly. So I didn't grip at all, and I just fell off.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I was like, oh, there's a balance there.
Yeah.
But Jim, what would you say, I'm going to say in the real world, we're not talking about in a demo, what would you say is the two, let's say, or however many you like, biggest problems for people starting young horses?
Well, I think that right there, the nail's on the head, is that the first thing is not getting your horse soft before you get riding, because if you don't get them understanding what the leg means and to come off the leg, then you're really kind of thinking about a time bomb, really, because there's going to always be that moment with a young horse where he does a spook or he does a little shoot and scoot, and you're going to involuntarily grip. And that, if the horse feels that and he's never felt anything on his flank before, where he's learnt to just soften his barrel to when the leg goes on, then really, that horse is going to panic. And there's going to be, because that's the moment where he thinks something's got a hold of me. And the other thing, I think, is this sense of not doing stuff enough. I think that so many people have bought young horses, which is great, and are working at starting them themselves, which is great. But they maybe do things 1 or 2 times. The horse does it nicely, and they go, yep, got that. That's that sorted. Let's move on to the next thing. And actually, that horse has just tried something and happened to get it right. And then when you come back to it 4 or 5 weeks later, he doesn't remember the lesson and he really doesn't understand it. So I had a young guy working for me, and he said, why do we have to do all this boring stuff all the time? And I said, well, that's because what we get paid for as a trainers. We get to do that, leg goes on, horse steps across, and we get to do that 1,000 times. And then we move on to the next thing. And that way the horse gets really, really acclimatized to the things you're asking him to do, so that when there is a moment where he does a little worry, he's not going to panic about that stuff. I think those are probably the 2 main ones.
Okay, yeah, it's interesting. And as you were saying earlier, it's about spending the time, isn't it? Yeah. And Monty's actually showing a couple of horses tonight, again, the horses that he's worked with before, obviously, called his willing partners horses, which hours of work has gone into to get them right, so they're going to be lovely, gentle horses, well-mannered horses for people to ride and put their daughters and wives on and know that they're going to be safe. I remember my niece Daisy's here tonight, as I said, about she'll eventually ride this horse, and we've actually got Horse of the Year show 2017 in mind, maybe 2018, I'm not sure yet. But when she had her first pony, that was quite tricky for her to ride, we said to Monty, we asked Monty's advice, and he said, what you need is more wet saddle pads. So Daisy and I, she was just a baby at the time, really, we were going, wet saddle pads, how does that work? And we were like, do we soak them in water? And how do you... and then we realized it means sweaty saddle pads, meaning work. You've got to put the hours in to your horse, and he's looking to settle. Now, Jim, I know I am the queen.
You are.
Am I ready to ride this horse now? Are you
are.
Happy? Because you know you will get your head cut off.
I will just say, I'll just say one thing quickly before you come in and get on, which is that Kelly's going to come in and really mimic what we're doing. So as far as the horse is concerned, nothing new is happening. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just the rider getting on, but goes into the same pattern. And there's a couple of things we're looking for when the rider goes. So if you look, when he's always looking to the outside, and that's because you're also gorgeous. And so he comes round, he has a look to the outside, and when he does, I just pick up this rein and just say to him, just focus on the inside rather than the outside. We'll come this way, you look out to the side, I say this way, good. And even if we do a smaller circle, doesn't matter.
Sorry, I was saying he was having a tendency to keep looking out, wasn't he?
That's right.
And then spooking at things. And we've got to get
really
into
one of those, we can encourage our horses to spook. So if I'm riding the horse around the pen, he's looking to the outside, and then I'm picking up that outside rein, trying to slow him down. So he's looking to the outside more, encourages him to fall through his inside shoulder, and so he starts to feel out of balance. And then the more he's looking at the outside, the more things worry him. Whereas if I can get him soft and balanced and tip him just to the inside, if he spooks at something, all I have to do is open my inside hand and do a little circle, and then bring him back out to where he was worried. And that way, the pressure comes off, but he stays nice and balanced, and we're back where the spook was. And that's a really nice way to say to him, it's okay, you can move, but we want you to move nice and quietly. Okay, you're Madge.
Where is my slave? Oh, there he is, Stuart. Thank you so much. Look at the quality of my mountain block here. So I was using the small one, but no good. I needed a higher one. It has to be said. Oh gosh, I'm going to stick a bridle on him, aren't I, Jim?
Yeah, that'd be good.
And this is the normal bridle he wears at work. And I could absolutely, in here, work without a running martingale. But I just want to say what I honestly do at home, or how he's ridden, is we actually do have a running martingale on at this stage. Because if he leaps in the air, it does just anchor you down a little bit there. So it's helpful. So use what you feel that bit safer on. He doesn't need a harsh bit. Now let's get this right, Jim.
We cunningly put it on upside down.
Yeah, we got it all upside down in the...
Being professionals.
we were looking good. And luckily he was like, what are you doing? Lovely, thank you. If you take the head end, I'll take under here. Super. Lovely. And he's, as I say, this is such an advantage or privilege for this horse to be here and getting this just relaxation in front of people. And I'm going to show the main audience, all being well, show the main audience later when Monty shows his willing partners' horses. Sorry. I'd like to just be able to sit somewhere on Jack, because Monty at home will give lessons while he's sitting on one of his younger horses or one of his willing partners' horses, so that they get to hang out. We got to stop doing everything in such a hurry. I understand Carl Hester does the same thing, that he'll sit on a younger horse to give lessons, to just get them settled with everything. Everything mustn't be a hurry all the time. Might need my girths up a bit when I get on later. Whoopsie, I'll pop that out the way.
It's a really good idea, seeing these big old horses, if you teach your horse to drop his head when you're doing bridles and
we'll do that
head collars.
as a tour next year.
And because otherwise you can't reach. No, we need a box.
You're right there. We have got, you notice saddle pad is Hannah's Wilbury, the Wonder Pony. Do some of you know about Hannah? There's a little girl that set up a charity and she's gone now. But we've got Wanderberry here tonight, who's part of her charity mission. Okay, well I'm going to stand here because I am the queen for 10 minutes only. This is a nice block, I must say. And you know at home, generally you have to get on off a gate or something like that and so on. Now we'll see how good he is, because Monty's got the willing partners horses here. Lovely. Come on, Jack. That's a good boy. And he's also got a horse that's not very good at the mountain block. Thank you, Jim. Actually, Jim's done that for me. I could do that on my own.
No.
But no, we'll leave it. That's all right.
Don't go crazy.
Okay. Okay, sorry. Now I'll back up. So whenever I get on, I'll use the left leg. Whoops, well done, Jack. When you get on, the first thing you do, sit. Breathe. We're not in a hurry. We're in a hurry, Jack? Have you bonded with Jim? Okay, and then just a couple of steps back so that they don't get in the habit of zooming forward every time. And then to start with, this horse has been ridden this year and last year, but we're just going to show you how we might use Jim as a crutch, as it were. Is that the right word?
That is good.
Yeah.
So I'm on the ground. This is exactly what we might do with a young horse. I'm walking him into the pattern. So if there's some anxiety there, he
Jim,
can take a little lead from me.
Can I just check my girths? Sorry, because I didn't get them up very tight. That was my fault. Good boy. That's it. Is that all right? Oh, did you, Jim?
That one.
That's it. Lovely. Always a good idea. That'll be it. Yeah, thank you. Sorry, interrupting there.
It also lets me have a sort of chat through with the rider what we're asking them to do. And so I can say, Kelly, start thinking about your inside hand. So this time it's going to be your right hand. And your right hand's going to come slightly out to the side to tip his nose the way you want to go. And then with a little backwards pressure. So you understand? It's nice. And we're looking for that little bit of softness so that his neck softens a little and you can see that nostril. This time it's going to be left hand, that comes out to the side. So we were talking this afternoon, weren't we, about how we ride with our hands.
This is so interesting. I've got to say this bit. This is so interesting, okay? So what did I start off with? Best turnout. My sister used to wash this pony to perfection. But then I was show jumping and then racing. And I've always held my hands like this, knuckles up, okay?
Riding a bicycle.
And I know it's wrong, I thought, because you're meant to have, I've read that you're meant to have your thumbs on the top. But then I look at every picture of a good rider, and they've always got their knuckles up. Look at pictures of John Whittaker and so on. They all ride like that. So I just thought, oh, well, I'll do what I like. But anyway, so Jim, sorry, this is so interesting about what the different hand positions mean.
So we'd
to your
been
horse.
talking this afternoon, and I said, try riding with your knuckles pointed. She went, oh, I always do that.
I do that.
And if you've got your knuckles pointing upwards, like you're riding a bicycle, it's a harder action for you to pull back towards your body. So if you can imagine your hands out there, you can try it if you want, and pulling back feels a bit weird. If I rotate my thumbs up, pulling back feels easy, doesn't it? Really easy.
So shall I illustrate that? So if I'm like this, I can really get a good yanking,
Yeah,
as
and
it were.
immediately
But if
his
I'm
head
like
goes up.
that,
Yeah.
I can't pull as hard. And then there was the thumb down thing.
And then, so it encourages this kind of out and back. And then with some horses, and this is just something that we were talking about, from if you have really, really remedial riding horses that don't like any pressure in their heads at all, so sometimes some of the ex-racers we get, we might even rotate the thumb down and push the rein away. And push the rein away here. So there's no chance of you pulling backwards.
I haven't done that one before, but that would be like that, Jim.
Yeah, that's exactly like that.
But is there anybody here really, really old that used to show jump years and years ago? Who's that? Dick Stillwell. Do you remember Dick Stillwell? Yeah, because I was an Yvette scholar, or one of the young riders on that team. Now, he said to me about riding like this.
That's it.
Like that.
Yeah.
So that if you ever he said, I got one hand that was a bit firmer than the other, so to have that hand like that, just so that you couldn't pull too hard. We must meet and discuss old times, madam. Sorry, what's your name? Steph Woodham. We'd love to. My sister would love to talk to you as well. We can talk Milton. We can. Oh no, who was somebody mentioning Ryan's son? The good old days. Sorry, Jim. Yeah, just old time. It's interesting. So as I've said a couple of times about Jim having a Western approach, and yet good British riders ride in the same way. But some of the terminology, like I don't think we say soft as much, but I'm not sure what we say.
So often we talk about a contact, but within that, you can kind of say, oh, no, I've got a contact. You've got to be able to feel the contact in his mouth. But it's a very difficult thing to then quantify, isn't it? Well, how much do I feel? Do I feel him so that he pulls against it? Do I feel him so that he pulls behind it? What am I meant to feel? Whereas if you can say, I've got the rein, and when I feel a little bit of pressure in the rein, and then they go soft, so he softens his front end and his head to it, then we know that he's giving to that pressure. And the really important thing then is to stop pulling. And that's what's so important, and we see so much of, is the horse tries to give, and the hands keep going backwards, and you end up with the horse with his chin on his chest. And we don't want that. We just want that nice, soft feel in the rein, and then the horse can carry himself along. And that's what we're ultimately looking for.
Jim, one other thing, explaining about, so this horse feels lovely now. He feels soft, and I feel really, really comfortable on him, and that's smashing. And this is a good way of having a lesson as well, because Jim's kept me confident and calm throughout. It's lovely having him there. One of the things, though, when he was a bit up, was I didn't want to grip with my lower leg to make him, to get him more wound up, let's say. So can you just explain to everyone about how, like with a starter on 2 or 3 days?
So when we're working with the starters, we want to try and get them as soft to the leg as possible, as quickly as possible. And so we've worked the long lines, so we've got them soft to the rein. So they know when you pick the rein up, they're to give a little bit. We can see their nostril from the room. Then we want to start working with, not with two legs, we work with the outside leg first. So if Kelly opens her inside rein, her right rein, presses with her outside leg on the girth, that'll instigate the turn, a little bit more bend, that's it, instigate the turn from the shoulder, and then if she finishes the turn with her inside leg, so the outside leg's going on, starting the turn, that then releases, and the inside leg comes on and softens. He wants to move his barrel and his hindquarters a little bit.
So one leg at a time?
One leg at a time.
Because two means go for, you're powering them forward.
That's right. And the really important thing is if it's one leg at a time, every time he steps off that leg, it goes away. So you can press, release, press, release. And he works out that if he softens to the leg and steps away from it, then it goes away. And that's a big tick and a light bulb for the horse, because that's what he wants. He wants to feel that he's not being held or gripped. Mm-hmm. And as soon as their flanks and their bodies start to soften to the leg, then the mind starts to soften as well. And then we can start some really nice training.
That's good. He's just a lovely horse to ride. His name's Jack, or Jackpot. So look out for him. He'll be in the magazine. We'll keep you up to date with him. And hopefully Horse of the Year show in 2017 or 18 as a working hunter, the plan is.
Do you get a wreath and a...
Everything. It's the music, Jim. It's all about the music. I'll get Dan. Now let's see how he is with these people coming in, because that's pretty good, isn't it? Yeah. Look at that.
But you can see, as he's going around with the people walking here, Kelly's just keeping his head tipped ever so slightly to the inside. And that's really important because it means that he can't brace to the outside, which might make him feel out of balance, and that might make him spook more. Also, if he does spook, all she has to do is carry on the spook in a little circle and then come back to where we were. So the pressure comes off and then back to where he spooked, and he goes, oh, I've survived, it's okay. And he can build confidence from that.
Would we be pushing it if we got somebody to stand by the edge of the round pen? Monty, we're just coming to a close here, whether you want to say anything, and whether, Jim, do you want to add anything?
No, I'm good.
There?
I'm good.
So this is pretty good, because we've got Monty, he's pretty spooky.
Yeah, just give us some speed now. Go really fast around the whole building.
I thought you were serious for a minute. Oopsie. I thought, because I was thinking, oh, I don't mind doing a little trot. Actually, I will do a little trot.
But you've got about 5 minutes, Kelly, and then we'll let the main audience come in. So whatever you want to do.
Oh, that's right, we're finished now. So as I say, my plan is, audience, and as I say, you're our special friends, is that I'm going to stand in that corner when Monty does something with the whole main audience later, and just that Jack's going to be settled enough. And it's a big ask. There's going to be 700 people in the building. There's going to be quite an atmosphere, but it's all going to be so good for him, and I'm really pleased. Jim, thank you very much. That's
Pleasure.
Excellent to do that with him, and I'm looking forward to meeting you later. Come and see. Yeah, do come and see me. I'm at the Red Tablecloths, where the Intelligent Horsemanship members can all enter a free draw that you could win a Perfect Manners weekend course with me, and that would be lovely to see some of you. You all get a £5 off money voucher off clothes and DVDs. Now, and actually getting off is a little bit similar to getting on, as you want your horse to stand. Hang out. We're not going to do a whole rushy getting off thing. So sorry about this, audience. I have to just relax. That's quite funny, isn't it? So he's moving happily, but now we're going to stand. I'll just do a turn and breathe and wait. And Jim will probably be working in the, oh, that's a good boy. Yeah. Jim will be working in the intermission. But, oopsie.
It's a long
I didn't quite get
down.
my leg over his back end then very well. Good boy, well done. But see Jim and get his number and so on. And see our other recommended trainers here as well. We've got Sandra Williams from Buckinghamshire. We have Zoe Chipman from Surrey. and which I know is quite a large area, but we got Cindy from Surrey as well. So there's quite a few recommended trainers here tonight, and we'd love to see you. And of course, there's Monty's online university table over there, so go and see them. And they've got a free draw for a Dooley halter, and they've got Chris Morris, who's a Monty instructor, and Joanna Lowe's are Monty instructors as well. Shall I leave the what do you want to do, Jim? Do you want to
take this off.
We'll take all this gear off. Okie dokie.
Oh, we're not a rubbing post. We're not a rubbing
Shall I pop that off? And you're going to put the Dooley on. This is very itchy, all this. His winter coat is just coming through. Uh-oh, sorry. I'll take that. He's probably going to have a lovely roll now.
We've been working together for years.
Yes. We got it all. We've got a script. We worked for an entire script the whole time.
We have, haven't we?
Okay.
All right.
Is that it, Kelly?
Whoopsie. Yeah, thank you. This is a sister.
Did you have anything else to do? No?
No, that's
Okay.
great.
Let me take the audience on a little tour then of the building.